G'day crew, Todd from Toxic Garage Customs. Welcome back to part 3 of the Datsun 1000 Shed Find Will It Run series. And by now you may have seen that it's going to run. It's just a matter of can we get it to run better. So in this particular carby, in this particular episode, we start working on the carby. And the carby is kind of like Niagara Falls. You put petrol in the top and it pours out the bottom. So we have a look at that. But what I can tell you is that by the end of this video, we get this thing running, ticking, and yeah, it's not too bad. I'm pretty happy about it. I'm very happy about it. So join me at the end of the video and we'll have a chat about it. See you then. Okay, if I sit you here, you should be able to see the fan spin and hopefully some spark come from the points. What I can tell you is if I take my hand off the ignition switch, the key just stays there and keeps spinning. A little bit of lubricant in that ignition switch will fix that. I couldn't see spark from the points just then. I'm going to spray some lubricant in the ignition switch and I'll get my compression tester at the same time. Now that it's winding over, we can do a compression test. Good stuff. Okay, so before I lubricate the ignition, what I'm going to do is get it to work in my favour so that I can wind it over and actually see if the points are sparking. And I've got you zoomed in so you can see too. No, they're not sparking at the moment, so I'm going to give them a clean up. That was the look mum no hands trick. We'll give them a clean up. Okay, while looking for spark, I wiggled some wires and I was just playing around with the wires on the coil here, and what I noticed was that when I wiggled this one, there was a bit of spark jumping up. Where are we? This one on the coil, there's a bit of spark jumping around, so I'm just going to give it a clean. I think there's probably some insulation issues there as well. I'll give it a clean out because for the same thing, clean terminals conduct electricity better, and we'll see if that works. Righto, so I haven't got any other spark plugs, so I just got the ones that were in it. Focus. Got the ones that were in it and gave them a clean up. Got the oil and stuff off them, and the carbon. I just got a wire brush. Luckily I've still got my welding kit here. So I had a wire wheel there. Gave that a go. Stabbed myself in the fingers about 30 times with the wire. And I've just given them a clean up. This one here, I think in particular, had a real build up on it. You can see it's a bit misshapen. I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's a bit misshapen on the end. Ideally you'd throw those away, get new ones, but I'm trying to get it going with as little as I can at the moment. Must be the flight path today. They should do the job. They're 25 years old. I don't know, they should work. As long as they make spark, they should be okay. So this is not the preferred method to use second-hand things and clean them up like that. As far as spark plugs go, it's a serviceable item. You throw it away, you replace it, but hey, pub's about to close, you're thirsty, you got to get it going, you do what you do. So we'll chuck those in, and I've got some spark at the dizzy now after cleaning up the wires. So I did just go through and pull all the wires off, give them a clean. Same on the coil, they're all greasy and dirty, and I've got some spark happening there now. Put the spark plugs in, put the rotor button on, cap back on, connect the leads up, and I might just throw a bit of fuel down the carby and see what happens. I'll just mention also that the rotor button, and again, I would normally use something finer, but it's what I've got. I'm just giving it a clean up on that part. That's where the center button in the distributor cap contacts. and then the actual contact point here. I don't want to take too much off, I'm just cleaning it up so it's got a nice clean contact. We'll pop the rotor button back in, and then the same thing on the cap. This cap actually looks like it's in good condition, so what you're looking for is there any obvious cracks? Because a crack through the distributor cap stops it from working, really. It short circuits around. And the only other thing we do, we're going to get our screwdriver, and sometimes there's a little carbon build up on the inside of these, so we're just going to go like that, literally just flick off anything that may be there, and this cap looks okay. Now I don't know if it's worn or not. These little buttons can wear. If the distributor is slightly out of balance and the rotor button is off center, it could wear those. Yeah, and the other thing, got to make sure this little button in the middle is sprung so it goes in, because you want a nice contact of that on the top of the rotor button. So it's just got a little spring there. Spring feels a little bit compressed actually. These are all serviceable, replaceable items. You're probably looking 20 bucks or something for a cap. As I said, points, condenser, spark plugs, air cleaner, oil filter, oil, all replaceable, serviceable parts. Let's get this on. Okay, I should also mention that your plug leads and your coil lead are also replaceable items. Now they go brittle. They've got a carbon strand that runs through the middle of them. It fails basically. You replace them. Their heat will make them fail, just being cracked generally. So we will do all that. All I'm trying to do at the moment is get this thing running. I don't want to spend too much money on it if I don't know that the engine's any good. The body seems okay, but I may end up getting a whole new engine if this one's no good. So I'll try and get it running. If it runs, then all good. While I think of it, my compression tester, of course, is somewhere else. So I haven't given it a compression test. We'll do that later. Definitely will do it. Got everything happening, I think. Got everything connected, rotor button in, all the rest of it. I was looking at the fuel filter a moment ago, so it's over on the side on this. Really easy to get to. So up the top of the screen here, this is the fuel filter. It's actually got fuel in it. It's probably contaminated like nothing else. It could have water in it and all sorts of things. But the car has been undercover, and the carby is leaking, and it's got oil and stuff. So to be completely honest, I'm just going to run with what's there, because I don't think it's going to make a lot of difference. At least it's got a fuel filter. But I will give it a little bit of choke, try and start it. Let's see what happens. I might actually give it half a chance and put some clean fuel down it. See how much I can spill all over the place in the process. I'm just chucking a bit down there at the moment just to see if I get any sort of spark, any sort of idea that it may want to start. I'm not sure if all the petrol running down this carby ran down the outside of it or from the inside of it, but we'll see. Okay, I think we can confidently say that it runs. You saw it here first. A little bit of smoke out the back there. Doesn't seem too bad. So what I'll do, I'll take you to the back of the car and I'll put you near the exhaust pipe, and we'll see on the second start up how much smoke comes out. Okay, I've just put about 19 litres of petrol down the carby, and let's go and see what happens. Okay, she's blowing some smoke, no doubt about that. But look at that, it's actually idling. I can see from here there's fuel leaking on the ground under the car. Probably just about to run out of fuel, I would say. Pretty happy with that. That rattle, by the way, that's just the wing nut on top of the air cleaner. So might actually see what I can do about a better fuel system. I can see fuel leaking under the carby, under the car, up the front there. It's leaking on the ground, so whether it's coming out of the carby, which I wouldn't doubt because the carby does look quite wet. But turn this ignition off so I don't burn the coil out. So you can see some fuel under there, which is from there. Now whether it's fuel that I spilt or whether it's coming out of the carby, yeah, I can actually see it dripping out of the bottom of the bowl here. So what I might actually do, I think they might be drains. I'm going to drain those out. There might be some junk in there that would probably appreciate coming out. I'll drain that out. I'll have to put a kit or something through this carby by the look of it. That's okay. Actually, there is a carby in the back of the car. I don't know if it's for this or not, but luck being my way, it might be for it. So I'll drain those float bowls and we'll go again. Okay, slight change of plan. I took the air cleaner base off. I just want to have a look at a little bit of a look at the carby to see generally what's going on. We have the choke. I'm going to give it a little bit of a lubrication as well. It will need a rebuild, but I'm also just going to make sure everything's tight. Yeah, that screw's a little bit loose. One's a little loose. A little loose. One holding the clutch. Choke cable's a little loose. There's a couple of little 10 mils down here. I'll need a spanner. Actually, I can see the gasket, the base gasket. Well, it's perished on the outside, but whether that means the whole thing's gone. So I would say that at least the base gasket's gone. If I'm lucky, it might not be too bad. That fuel filter, I am going to take it off and have a look at it as well. Well, not take a look, I'm going to take it off, and I think I found one in a box in the back of the car. Whether it's the right one or not doesn't matter. If I can make it fit, might leave that hose alone, it's a bit crunchy. I would say that just on a completely different topic, I would say that all of these heater hoses and things get need replacing because I just touched one of them and it's very crunchy. I also noticed a minute ago, a little while ago, there's a rubber seal missing from around the oil filler cap. I'll just make one out of some rubber that I don't have here at the moment. And because we've got it running, we'll also drop the bottom radiator hose. Oh look, car has a radiator cap on it. It's got a spare one just sitting on the rail there because that's what you need. That sounds like a good spot to put it. Might be better than the one that's on it. So we'll give the cooling system a bit of a flush out as well. The actual radiator, I didn't notice that the radiator looks like it might have been reconditioned not long before it was off the road. Well, it's a win. Need to put new belts and stuff on it, I would say. Mind you, that one isn't cracking. What was I talking about, however? Oh, the carby. So I'm going to disconnect this pipe here. I'll wind it over and just see, number one, if fuel is coming through from the from the tank to the fuel filter to the pump and through here, and if it is, then what colour it looks. I have a suspicion that the diaphragm on the fuel pump might not be any good. And the reason I say that is that when I looked at the oil when I first got it and smelt it, it actually smelt like it had fuel in it. And that is typically a sign that the diaphragm Look at that, the oil just looks lovely. Let's just have a look here. We'll just clean this off. Car is jacked up a bit, but it shouldn't make too much of a difference. Okay, it's full, over full, really watery. Really thin, I should say. It actually doesn't smell like petrol, but the fact it's that thin makes me wonder whether there's petrol in there thinning it down. So definitely need to change that, definitely would do that anyway. And you may remember on either this video, the previous video, or one that you haven't seen yet, that I found an oil filter for this in the back of the car. So I don't think I've got any oil here because I've moved it all, of course, but I might even splurge and buy some oil, chuck an oil filter on it and go through and do that. Maybe even put a little bit of engine flush in it if I get really excited. Carby, hose, disconnect, check fuel, do that, stop rambling, get into it. Incidentally, the fuel, the plugs were in the right order. It was 1342. I actually googled it as well just to check what replacement spark plugs I could get, see if I had any lying around, because there was 4 in the back of this and they weren't the right ones. And when I checked, the firing order was 1342, so that worked. Okay, so I've got a Gatorade bottle there. If you're thirsty, drink Gatorade. Got a Gatorade bottle there, and it's important that you use the lemon lime flavoured Gatorade bottle for this. So I've got that sitting there. I'm going to wind the car over, and if the fuel pump's working and there's not a blockage in the system, we should see some fuel go into there. There was a couple of drops of water in there, so if there's a couple of drops of water in the fuel when we do it, then I'm going to put it down to the Gatorade bottle. Let's see. Get stuff out of the way. I wasn't expecting it to start because there's no fuel in it that I've put in it. And what do we got here? Okay, there is some putrid fuel, absolutely putrid fuel come through there. So maybe I should have disconnected this before. That's all right. So I'm going to leave it disconnected now. We'll actually get it running by some fuel in the carburetor, and by running then it'll continue to pump some fuel into the bottle just to get it through. Well, let's do that. That way I can run it for a little bit longer and I can get the fuel pumping through at the same time. Now that's a lot of fuel. And I can see a whole bunch of it running straight out the bottom of the carby. That's okay. Okay, so what you won't have seen then, because it was out of camera angle, if you can see it now, if we zoom in, you may be able to see some air bubbles coming through in the bottom of the fuel filter. I'll start it up again with some more fuel so that you can see, which makes me think that it's probably sucking air from the fuel tank, which is not a bad thing. It means that there shouldn't be too much bad fuel in the fuel tank, and maybe if I can just get what's in the line out, I might be able to cleanse it out without too much work and then put good fuel in the tank at some point. I'm seriously spilling 10 times more over the side of the carby and on the engine bay than I am in the carby itself. Alright, let's start it. You watch for those air bubbles. In here we're looking. So I don't mind that it's doing that, because what it's telling me is that the fuel pump, which is down there, it's sucking. So these are a suck fuel pump. So they operate off the camshaft. There's a little arm inside it that goes backwards and forwards off the camshaft, and it makes a diaphragm go up and down, and that diaphragm is the pump. It pumps fuel, but it sucks it from the fuel tank. It's not a push pump, it's a suck pump. So it's sucking it from the fuel tank. So it's sucking it through this line, through this fuel filter, through that line there, out of the tank. So if it's sucking air bubbles, it means that either the tank is empty or there's a crack in the fuel pipe somewhere. I'm going on the theory that the tank's empty, and I'm going on the hope that the fuel gauge works, because it's also saying empty. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to disconnect this hose here. I'm going to disconnect the hoses and empty the fuel out, because what you can't see, because it's off camera, is that where are we? Work, got dirty fingers. What you can't see is that not really any more fuel has gone into this bottle. So I think it's just sucking air, and it's really not pushing any more through. So the fact that there's air bubbles being drawn from the tank makes me feel that the fuel pump is working, at least in part. Otherwise it wouldn't be sucking anything through. So the fact that there's air there means the fuel pump is trying to do something. So I consider that a good thing. So what I think, if I can work out some way of jerry-rigging it, I'll try and put some sort of dodgy fuel tank, maybe a Gatorade bottle with some fuel in it, over there, and just put that fuel pipe straight into the bottle and see if I can get it sucking fuel out of a Gatorade bottle to run off my Gatorade fuel tank. Then we'll see if the fuel pump's working and we're narrowing down. But this thing starts really easily and it's not bellowing out heaps of smoke. I'm pretty happy. Pretty confident that's not going to fall over. If it does, what's the worst that could happen? Burst into flames? Ha! Okay, it's generally not recommended to put poison into drink bottles or chemicals such as petrol. So particularly if you've got kids around, don't go doing that. But I will make sure that that's empty before I finish for the day. Now I'm going to reconnect hose back over here. We've run it for a while without it being connected, so hopefully anything that was dirty in the pump and in there has come through. So all I'm hoping will happen now is that I can actually get it to draw some fuel out of the Gatorade bottle and work as a temporary fuel tank. I'll wind it over, hopefully something will come out. I've tried to pump some fuel through. Now I obviously can't see whether that's doing it or not, but I'll throw a bit of fuel down the carby. The fact that it's leaking is certainly not going to be helping us, but I'll throw some fuel down the carby and throw a bit all over the car as well. Yep, litre and a half, quarter of a gallon. My goodness, there's a lot of petrol in there. I reckon it'll run that. That's a lot of petrol. Yep. Okay. There's fuel going everywhere. We've got a bleeder coming out the top cover here, just pouring out. But I'm pretty sure. Am I sure? Am I sure? Come on, baby. I was going to say, I think we're running off the Gatorade bottle, and I actually do think we're running off the Gatorade bottle to a certain extent, because there seems to be a lot less fuel in it. There's a lot more on the ground, but there's a lot less in the Gatorade bottle. So clearly the carby's an issue, but I think we're narrowing down that the fuel pump's probably working. Let's have a look. I don't know that I showed you beforehand, but what I can tell you is there's a lot less fuel in this bottle. Where are we? There's a lot less fuel in this bottle than there was a minute ago, which means it's the thirstiest Datsun 1000 on earth. Maybe the pipe only went that far too. No, I think what was happening was that it was using the fuel and it was coming out the top of the carby as fast as it was being used. I don't care. It's a good thing. I'm trying to find out more about the fuel pump at the moment. Okay, I'm going to see if I can get this started with that fuel. I think it just ran out of fuel there. So I'm going to try and run that bottle empty. Throttle the pump, which I haven't had to do once yet, by the way. Okay, I'm going to give this old girl a little bit of a rest in that regard, because I think I've proven the point that I was trying to. And that's that the fuel pump's working. That bottle's nearly empty now. I've proven the point that the carburetor is pouring fuel out everywhere. And there's a nice big puddle of quite dirty fuel on the ground. So I'm also pretty happy that I think I've probably flushed out this later part of the fuel system. And it's just from the tank backwards. Sorry, from the fuel filter back to the tank. That's the issue now. So I'll take the fuel filter off. I won't reuse it. Excuse me, I won't reuse it. I'm suffocating from fuel fumes here, but we'll get a new one and we'll try and get the fuel out of the tank. I'd like to do that without taking the tank out. I'll stick my eyeballs down in the tank as well and see if it looks rusty, because that's obviously a possibility. Okay, so I've taken the fuel filter off, and that stuff there on my hand is what came out of the tank side of the hose, so the part that goes from there back to the tank. So that's general junk, and I'm going to assume rust. So I think safe bet would be to take the fuel tank out, give it a clean, maybe have to put a reseal on it. And this is the fuel filter, so let's have a look. Where's my dirty Gatorade bottle gone? Let's have a look. I'm going to tip the fuel from this into this Gatorade bottle and see what happens. Oh yeah, She's syrupy. So that stuff, getting into the carby, in hindsight, I really probably should have done this, disconnected this before I ran it through, so that the carby didn't get blocked up. But if you look at the carby, it really doesn't matter, so I'm not concerned. Carby needs work anyway. So it's fair to say this thing's probably pretty gunked up. You can actually see it is gunked up, and that's what's in there. So fuel filter, the idea is that it prevents all this junk from going into your carburetor, because if it goes into your carburetor, it blocks up all those tiny little jets and valves and seats and just stops it from working properly. So again, not concerned, because I'm going to be pulling that thing there apart anyway. But we've got about 2.5 feet of fuel line back to the tank to fix. Maybe a little bit more than that, but it's not a big car. Syrup. What do you reckon? Pretty cool, eh? I'm pretty happy about that. So I do have to just say at this point in time, some of the things I do may look a bit precarious. Putting starter motors on batteries and letting petrol pour all over the ground and all over the exhaust and so on. I do it with a little bit of tongue-in-cheek, and I do it with caution. So always take care when you're working on cars. I do these calculated risks because, yeah, I've got a bit of experience. But if you're new to it, then yeah, just play safe, kids. Anyway, I'll see you on the next one, part 4. See ya.